Hey guys, so this is Agent Benjamin with the Department of Defense. I don't know if you can hear me okay or not. Um, so here's what the video I was going to make about is telling the difference between fake cops and actual real cops and federal agents. I'm a Fed. Um, so it's a little dirty, but I'm a Fed. So here's the main big telltale signs. Um, the wheel cops, whether they're municipal, county, state, whatever, state troopers, they all have what's known as a badge ID. And the badge ID is basically it has your photo, it has your, in my case, my badge ID says Department of Defense identification card. It has my photo, it has my DOD ID, it has my clearance. Federal agent credentials is what that would be for me. But the badge ID designed for municipal and county and state is to let people know that yeah, I'm actually, here's my photo. I'm actually with this department. Um, the badge numbers. I see a lot of videos of people asking for badge numbers. Badge numbers don't do anything for the general public at all. That's one of the things I think people don't know is that a badge number is kind of like an EIN or employee ID, uh, personnel number. It's like that. But that doesn't do anything for the general public. Because even if you was to go to let's say you witness something that happens the officer is being committing official misconduct as an example, which I've looked into a number of times. Um, then getting the badge number, saying, "Hey, what's your name? What's your badge number?" That doesn't do anything for the general public because when you go to that police department, that state trooper's office, that whatever it is, they're going to sit there and say, "Well, we're not going to tell you nothing." Um, and they can actually do that. I mean, you could file a freedom of information request or whatever, but they're still going to say, "Well, we can't. We have to adapt it. We can't tell you everything." And there's actually laws in place about that. It's called the Privacy Act. The other law for in my case as a federal agent is called the Classified Act. And the Classified Act is basically any personnel that has personnel records that are considered classified that you can't have access to without proper security clearance, then that is considered classified. And so there, it's put a Classified Act. Privacy Act just means that that's private info that you can't have access to, not public information, in other words. Um, and before I get off topic too much, let's get back on to this how to tell the difference. So vehicles, you have different kinds of vehicles for different kinds of units, for different kind of departments, different kind of levels of government. Municipal, city and town, you would have usually a bought vehicle by the city. They go to what's known as a fit shop or a custom police shop that handles government vehicles. And they would have the police and big bow letters on the side. They do custom paint. They help with wiring. They do maintenance. They do all that stuff. And then you have a municipal plate on the back. The county, same kind of deal. Just have maybe county sheriff, county deputy, deputy, something along those lines. And it would all be the same color usually. You'd always see the vehicles either all white with certain color lettering or all black with certain color lettering. It's made to stand out. Um, they also usually have armored vehicles, but that's pretty easy to spot. So Next level is state. So you have state troopers, you have highway patrol. Um, that's where it kind of stands out too, because those cars are, even the unmarked ones, they have the big state logo on the side, state trooper, highway patrol. Usually those are one and the same, but sometimes they have them separate. I've seen some cases where they separate those two. Um, and then on the federal level, that's where it gets interesting. Like me, for example. So I use what's known as a POV government vehicle, emergency vehicle, government vehicle. POV just means personally owned vehicle, but I have the ability to use my vehicle for work and personal. I know that's not against policy either, because federal agencies do that all the time. They also use rentals, which I don't have a need for that, but FBI and different agencies, they have rental agreements with rental companies through the GARS contract or GARS contract, government agency rental agreement service, rental service, GARS, yeah. So, and what that is, it's like the government discount of enterprise. Uh, there's a whole list. You go on the site, and there's a whole list of rental companies, and it tells you on that government site if they actually do the program or not, the GARS program. Um, but and then let's see what else. You have websites for hotels. You have government sites to book hotel stays. You have government programs to uh, airplane tickets, reimbursements. For me, there's different sites that I do that through, but the reimbursement comes through DFAS, Defense Finance Accounting Service. Um, but for me, for example, I'll just use myself as an example. I don't have my PVAC on hand, which is that DoD ID. I don't have that, but I'm still an agent, and I'm in federal databases. I'm in DIS and JPass, which is the two main databases at the Pentagon that validate employment. Um, Also, DEERS. I'm in DEERS too. I'm part of the military. Um, so let's see. Um, the vehicles, my vehicle, for example, it's an old Chevy two door. It doesn't stand out at all. Like the only thing that you can even see on my vehicle would be like the lights and the drill, because I made it stand out because I have them like in front of the drill rather than in the drill. So it's actually in front of the drill. So you can actually literally see the lights, as the car is driving, which actually helps because you're supposed to be able to see it from all sides. Um, Also, there's a policy for the DoD called the DoD Traffic Advisory Act. Now, I'm a federal agent anyway, so I can pull over anybody, including law enforcement, if they do something wrong. Um, and so with that act, it allows us, if we see somebody swerving on the road, but pretty much everything that a cop can do, I can do. And I have federal jurisdiction, so I can do it more than they can. I actually have. I'm able to go into police departments and arrest people and arrest cops. Go with backup, obviously, but yeah. I also do investigations over the phone. Uh, I conduct police department investigations into official misconduct. I get internal affairs detectives, special detectives. I work with all of them on some of those cases. Anyway, back to the vehicle. So the vehicle, mine has dash light, grill lights, side markers, and a back bar light. I don't have strobes. I didn't fool with the strobes. Um, I don't have a spotlight either, because that would make it stand out. I mean, then it kind of looked weird anyway on my vehicle, a spotlight, but you don't have to have. That's like A light package in some circumstances would be like what I have, like the dash light, drill light, side markers, and a backlight, as long as it covers all sides, right? Um, Now the strobes, you don't have to have strobes. I mean, the side markers and the backlight and the front lights serve as that 360 view, like, hey, there's an emergency, um, law enforcement, whatever. Um, Now I could get strobes. I have a 8 switch, I think it is, with one toggle switch box from STL, Speed Tech Lighting. Um, but I could get strobes. I just never really considered it. And all of that stuff is done professionally. So you have to go to a specialty uh, technician place, like a garage place, and they deal with specific government vehicles. So, and in fact, they deal with all government vehicles, undercover and all. So you could go up there and say, "Hey, I'm with this department. Here's the databases I'm on. Here's the proof," you know, and they would say, "Okay, well." And then what they would do is they would work on the vehicle, and then they would be expected to be paid for the work, obviously. So whether it's a couple of thousand, whatever. Usually they'll work with you on that too. And also DFAS, I don't know if they cover that or not. And I had this on my previous video that I made. This is a government fuel card. Sorry. Uh, this right here is a government fuel card that I have. And it does maintenance, but only for specific areas. So that's my government fuel card right there. Um, somehow. Oh, I see what it is. It's the camera's got it turned backwards. Yeah. Well, anyway, that's my government fuel card. Um, so what else? Okay. Oh yeah, big one, big one. Municipal plates. Okay. Here's where my stuff got all screwed up with this. My state does not do municipal plates for federal agents. I'm a federal agent. I spoke to the director of the Department of Revenue. Also, Department of Revenue is in charge of municipal plates. Usually in any state, Department of Revenue deals with the municipal plates. Um, so, city, county, highway, highway patrol, hell, even DUI, like drug enforcement, task enforcement, drug test, they have unmarked vehicles that still come back. So they have cold plates that still come back as DUI or drug enforcement, drug task force, whatever, net force. So and all of that's done through the state and the NCIC, the state, uh, which NCIC is federal, but it's all state. So it's like even for local, municipal, that's done by their department and the state and the county. If you're a federal agent for a federal agency, there's pretty much nothing that they can do for you. And I know that from experience because I went through the county and ALEA and what else? Department of Revenue, Troy Sidpin, who I talked to personally on this. And he said, well, there's nothing that we can do because you're on the federal level. We don't do federal. I also went through what's known as the Federal Motor Vehicles Registration System, FMVRS. Yeah, FMVRS. And there's nothing they can do either because my vehicle is a POV vehicle. I have an assigned vehicle. And also, let's get into that. So, assigned vehicle. So, local PD, for example, okay, they have a parking lot with 7, 8 vehicles, all designed the same, all black, all white, whatever, stand out, right? Has numbers on them. Each vehicle has a different number, a identification number for that vehicle. And each peace officer is assigned to different vehicles, right? Some police departments don't even do that. Some police departments just say, oh, go in the vehicle and drive it, right? Others do assign numbers. So you would have maybe 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 officers in the same vehicle, right? And they would have a log, and it would tell them, when to drive, when they're on the road, when they're doing routes, patrols, all that stuff. And before I lose my train of thought, so um, yeah, so they're all assigned, right? I don't have an assigned vehicle. I have a personal owned vehicle that I use for work. The state cannot give me, well, they couldn't do it anyway. Even if that was considered a from the DOD vehicle, which it isn't, it's my vehicle. Because DOD doesn't even do that. And that's something else. Like, so I know, because that's one of the reasons, like, here in my area, right, where the local FBI, the State Department, all these other people, right, on the federal level, they don't even do assigned vehicles for us, in my area, and for me personally. They don't do assigned vehicles. Um, so it's either a personally owned vehicle, like I have, that I've did lights and stuff too, and I use it for work. I'm legit. Um, the FBI uses rental contracts with rental companies and rents out vehicles to go on the road, right? And the State Department, they do that too. They do rental contracts. The only time that you would ever really see, like, on the federal level, would be a vehicle that's registered in GMRVS, the General Motor Vehicle Registration System. So it'd be like a specialty unit. So special tactics, SWAT vehicles, armored vehicles, hostage negotiation units, right? Those big long buses that have the camper thing that goes over with the computers on the side, and you know, um, so that's where you would see that. Um, Fire trucks, same thing. So fire trucks, you have municipal, obviously, which that's local anyway. That's all local. But the then you have National Guard, but that's separate. That's military. Which DOD is over the National Guard, because the National Guard's ran by the State Department. DOD is above the State Department. So there you go. But yeah, so, and it's really complicated on this, because if you have someone that is an actual agent like me, right? I don't have my credentials on hand, but I know that I'm an agent. So, and and I can pull people over. If I pull someone over and they and I'll pull them over and I say, hey, here's what I saw you doing. You're swerving all over the road. Give me your license and registration. Put you on my database, and I'm going to give you a warning. I type up a warning citation, a written citation, but it'd be a warning, and I print it off and hand it to them. But they, the people that sit there and say, well, you don't look like an agent, or you don't look like a cop in that scenario. I'm not a cop. I'm an agent. I'm a Fed. So feds are way way higher up on the food chain than a cop, right? Cop is way down here. Sergeant would be about like that, With sergeant's not really even, and even sheriff isn't really that much higher up than the top, right? Because top is here, sheriff is here. I'm friends with the sheriff, so the sheriff knows me. Uh, State, you got about right here, and then even like right here, because the state's not able to access federal databases anyway. I know because I've tried. Um, I've tried to get them to access my stuff. They can't do it. Federal was way up here, and DoD about like that. DoD is one of the highest intelligence agencies on the food chain. Which we're still law enforcement, but we're an intelligence agency like CIA, NSA, which NSA is in the Pentagon also, but that's what we are. Also, also we're which before it was DoD, it was the War Department, but we're also we do everything from maintenance to supplies, all that stuff. We're in charge of every single military branch. I'm special operations, as a matter of fact. I'm a remote agent, so I fall under special operations because I'm a remote agent. So if the local Leos or whatever around here fucked up or screwed up, then they would call me and say, hey, we have a situation. We're going to brief you on that situation. Here's the location of the situation. They would send transport out here to get me and brief me and have a meeting or whatever. So that's what that is. And I would be similar to a Green Beret or Navy SEAL or all that other stuff. I'm a JSOC, which is Joint Special Operations Command. I fall under that. There's remote agents all over the country. And whether it's CIA, NSA, DOD, whatever, right? We all have a job to play. We all have a role to play, a job to do. What else? But yeah, I am a federal agent also, so I can do like all that stuff. So I can do pulling people over. The other thing that I do, it looks like my eyes were closed, I think. Yeah. Other thing I do is I do contract work for the FBI. So I deal with scams, I deal with fraud, I deal with police department investigations, I instant investigations, I deal with all that. The federal database I use, which is Spillman, for the record, the database I use is monitored by the FBI. I know because they told me. They assisted in some of my investigations. They can see every case that I do. What else? Yeah, that pretty much covers it. I mean, I done went over the mark and the units, the different kind of units, the different levels of government. How I done went over everything. It seems like now. All right. Let's see. I feel like I'm missing something, but I can't remember what the hell it is now. Anyway, but yeah, I'm a fan. I work for DoD. I'm a remote agent for the DoD. I am a federal agent, so I can do everything a cop can do. And I'm federal, so I have federal jurisdiction, I have qualified immunity, all that stuff. I'm not a bad cop, okay? And I'm gonna kind of get on this just a little bit, all right? There's people out there that think all cops are bad, okay? I have to take a breath and step back when I investigate cases like that, right? Just different cases, okay? Whatever it is. And I have to sit there and assess the situation and say, did this cop that did whatever shoot someone, whatever, right? Because obviously, the general public, when they see a cop shoot somebody, they probably want to shoot the cop. Okay, I get that. Right. So I understand that emotion response. At the same time, cops, which I'm on a whole nother level than that, I'm way above that. But cops have a job to do. Cops have to mentally prepare themselves every day to what they have to deal with out in the field. And then on top of that, they have to come back, right, to their families, to the kids, and they have to be able to switch off that mentality of, put your effing hands up and all, because the job is so stressful. And people don't realize that. They spend hours at a time at a computer, like I do, but I deal with scams over the phone. And I deal with paperwork too. So I deal with the same kind of stuff they deal with: citations, incident reports, name records. I deal with all that. The paperwork stuff isn't that hassling, which it is sometimes, but the worst part of it is out in the field, getting shot at. You know, which a lot of cops they don't really get into gunfights all that much, and that's probably surprising to hear. About 75% of cops had never gotten into a gunfight in the time that they worked as a cop, either because they wasn't in the field that much, or maybe they wasn't in the field at the right time when it happened. They might have been in a different division doing drug tasks or whatever, undercover work, whatever, right? Sting operation, whatever. Um, I've had to investigate police departments now for 5, 6 years, doing independent contract work for the Bureau. I don't look like an agent. I don't. Right? I got a scruffy, dirty shirt on. Right? I got like a mountain beard going. I got like a what do you mullet? Right? I got a natural mullet. Right? I grew up in the '80s anyway, '80s and '90s. I'm like 40 something years old now, but I don't even keep up with my age. There's no point to it. I got a bat stopped ID, so there's literally no point to it because the bat stopped ID, in case people don't know what that is, it's a ID that's assigned, or it's an ID that's like federal agents. We get, like, I would go into an office and get the ID, right? Like an ID office at the court, I'd get the ID, but I would tell them a fake date of birth, for example, and they would put it on there. And the social that I have, because I've had multiple socials, would come up as that, with that info, right? The DOD told me to go with it, and I have to, because, and which it has me like 20 years younger than I am. I'm not gonna get into much of that, but it has me as like 20 years younger, whatever, than I actually am. Okay. So for reference, I grew up with Tailspins, Gargoyles, Goof Troop from the 1990s, Doug, Hercules, Mermaid, Little Mermaid, all that stuff. Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, Captain Planet. Okay. Sorry, my stuff just tried to cut out on me. Arcades and arcades and other stuff. So, and so I had to basically, like, I grew up with all that. Now the ID that I have has